Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by. Welcome to the Nuance Communications Enable Your athenaClinicals with Nuance Dragon Medical conference call. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Later, we will conduct a question-and-answer session, and instructions will be given at that time. If you should require assistance during the call, please press star, then 0. I would now like to turn the conference over to Mr. John Dreyer. Please go ahead, sir.
Great, thanks, and thanks everyone for joining us today. So we're going to jump right into today's webinar around speech enabling athenaClinicals with Dragon Medical. So you have myself here, John Dreyer from Nuance, as well as Jody Sinclair from MIST, and we're going to go ahead and just jump right in. So before we get started, if there are any questions, it's a relatively short webinar today. If there are any questions that come up throughout the course of today's event, please submit those through the chat or Q&A window inside of WebEx. And at the end of today's call, Jody and I will stay on the line and try and address as many of those questions as possible. So at any point during the webinar, submit those questions, and we'll address those at the end of the event. So a quick overview of the agenda for today's session. First, we're going to start by talking a little bit about the underpinnings of our cloud or hosted infrastructure for speech recognition that's available for athenaClinicals. We'll then jump into an overview of two primary solutions for front-end speech recognition available to Athena Health clients. That's Dragon Medical One, as well as Dragon Medical embedded in athenaClinicals. We'll then go ahead and pass control over to Jody, and Jody will take us through a demonstration of Dragon Medical embedded in athenaClinicals. We'll then come back and talk a little bit about choosing the best solution or solutions based on your organization's needs, and then we'll go into some next steps, provide some information, and also address any of those questions that come up throughout the course of today's call. So let's get started here. So I mentioned, the underpinnings of our cloud platform really rest on the hosting infrastructure that we have in place. And we acknowledge that data security and business continuity is really one of the most important factors when it comes to a solution like this for our clients. And Nuance is dedicated to meeting these extremely high demands for our healthcare clients. And as part of that, we recently partnered with Microsoft for their Azure cloud computing platform. And this is where Dragon Medical One, as well as the Dragon Medical solution that's embedded in athenaClinicals, is hosted. So the Microsoft Azure environment supports a broad set of national and international and industry-specific compliance standards, and it really provides a number of benefits, including the high availability of the solution to ensure that your physicians always have access to a fast, accurate, secure speech recognition technology. We have multiple highly secure redundant data centers, so an active environment where we're able to intelligently route the clinicians to the most appropriate data center where they're going to receive the best response from the system. We have high availability and uptime guarantees, and essentially true elastic computing here, where the benefit for our clients is as our clients grow within their organization as well as the client base grows, we have a system and solution to support that. All communication to and from the Nuance hosted environment is secure. And as part of this, there are a number of security practices, again, high availability, business continuity policies in place to ensure that your clinicians are getting the best experience possible. And at the end of the day, this relationship with a world-class hosting provider really allows Nuance to focus on the development and the delivery of the world-class health IT solutions that are running on this platform. So let's go ahead and dive right into our solutions for front-end speech recognition through the cloud platform. So this is just a high-level overview, and then, as I mentioned, Jody is going to be covering a demonstration of the embedded version of Dragon Medical in just a few minutes. So what you see on screen here is one of our solutions, which is Dragon Medical One. So this is a recently announced cloud platform that includes a number of different pieces of technology. But this is a platform that provides a single voice profile for documentation into the EHR as well as beyond the EHR. So we have the Dragon Medical One desktop application, which I'll talk more about in just a minute, but it allows the availability of cloud-based speech recognition across Windows-based devices to dictate into the EHR and other applications on the desktop. We have the Nuance Healthcare ID, which is a new capability that was recently introduced, and this allows your physicians to register their account and personalize their experience beyond the EHR workflow. And again, I'll talk in just a minute about some of the specifics of what that actually means, but we're extending the speech experience beyond just the EHR workflow. And then finally, we also have Dragon Medical Analytics, which provides high-level trends and detailed usage metrics. This really ensures that our clients and our own teams can help ensure the successful rollout and adoption of the cloud-based speech technology, ensure that your physicians are using these solutions as efficiently as possible. On the other side here, we have the Dragon Medical embedded in athenaClinicals EMR. So this is a exclusive advanced voice-driven workflow that allows the clinicians to dictate, to navigate, and execute commands all directly inside of athenaClinicals. So this is all with no software to install. Essentially, you could walk up to the web browser, log in, and this is all integrated right in seamlessly as part of that workflow. So you select the patient record, the physician can use voice to navigate, insert templates, auto text, and text, dictate, and then use voice commands to edit and sign documents. And that's what you're going to see a live demonstration of momentarily here when we pass the ball over to Jody. We also have our transcription platform as part of this as well. So the Nuance transcription platform adds other capabilities as part of this single platform experience. So part of that single platform experience is also built on this one voice profile that provides a consistent experience for physicians across back-end, front-end speech recognition, on-premise solutions, and our cloud-based speech solutions. And the ultimate result of this is that clinicians can get up and running faster across new workflows, new devices, new applications as they're introduced in your organization. If you're leveraging Nuance transcription services today, we can transition those users to a front-end speech experience by pre-adapting their voice models and carrying their personalizations forward. We also have solutions for any clients that are currently leveraging our on-premise Dragon Medical solutions, so being able to allow those users to leverage their pre-existing voice models and customizations, again, across devices. And at the end of the day, this next generation cloud platform is really enabling that unified voice experience across workflows, across devices, and across applications. So let's just take a minute before we get into the demo, and we'll talk in a little bit more detail about the two solutions that we're discussing today. The first being Dragon Medical One. So as I mentioned, a few components that make up the Dragon Medical One platform, the first of which is the Dragon Medical One desktop application. So this is an application that is runs on the Windows desktop. You're able to dictate into the EMR, put the cursor in dictate. You're also able to dictate into other applications on the desktop. And we're going to discuss a little bit more of this after the demo about the best solution based on your workflow needs and how your physicians document and where they document. This also supports various deployment models. If you are running any type of virtualized deployments in your organization, this was designed with virtualization in mind. So a lot of opportunity for how you choose to deploy the solution and support for those different deployment models. We also have the ability, as I mentioned, for physicians to create what we refer to as the Nuance Healthcare ID. So this is a way for physicians to personalize their experience, and by doing that, there's a number of benefits where they have first access to the latest innovations that come from Nuance and our partners. And one of the immediate benefits out of the gate is the ability to extend voice access beyond the EHR into a catalog of mobile productivity apps. So we've acknowledged the trend and see our clients moving to other workflows beyond the EHR where they're supporting documentation, creation, and communication. So applications like secure messaging, care coordination, clinical reference, or telemedicine apps, top health, medical education, a whole host of mobile productivity apps where now the physician can essentially extend their voice-driven experience beyond that EHR workflow, have access to their customized vocab, their personalized macros, templates, etc. The other solution here, which is one you're going to see a demo of in just a moment, is the Dragon Medical embedded in athenaClinicals. So again, this is a version of Dragon Medical, cloud-based again here, that's directly embedded and integrated into the Athena web-based application. So you have, in this screenshot you can see, and you'll see this live, that floating toolbar. So that's your Dragon Medical toolbar, and it allows you to have that highly accurate clinical speech recognition experience directly integrated into the athenaClinicals web application. There's some really great unique capabilities here that are exclusive as part of the Dragon Medical workflow around voice navigation and control of the EMR. Jody will highlight some of those as part of the demonstration. And then you have visual indicators to tell you where speech is enabled. So most of the fields within the Athena workflow are enabled. And again, access to that single voice profile experience as you move across the different workflows. And lastly, both of these solutions include access to Dragon Medical Analytics. So Dragon Medical Analytics is a tool for administrators and analysts at your organization, and this really gives you a way to effectively measure documentation and quality metrics across your organization and across individual providers. So it lets you track clinician use, efficiency, and productivity, and at the end of the day, it really contributes to more informed decision-making so that you can ensure there's maximum adoption of the solution, and you can ensure that you're driving towards clinical and financial outcomes. So the availability of the key metrics and also the usage details allow you to pinpoint areas for improvement so that you can ensure that you're proactively working with your physicians to ensure the best experience possible. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and pass control over here to Jody, and we'll go ahead and talk a little bit more about Dragon Medical embedded in athenaClinicals and actually get to see it in action.
Great, thank you, John. So on the screen right now, you're seeing the Nuance Management Center, which is the hub or the web tool for you as an administrator to manage your users within the cloud-based versions of Dragon that John mentioned moments ago. From an implementation standpoint and the demo today, there's 3 different topics I'd like to cover, and one is setup and configuration. So how do we tie this Nuance Management Center to your Athena table space and allow your users to go live? Obviously in lieu of a software installation, which is quite nice. And then I'll jump into the demonstration of Streamline View and then follow that up with highlights within the Classic View, as there might be some of you on the phone today that are currently in Classic View and looking to move to Streamline in the future. You can kind of get a feel for where we're at today in Classic and how that will migrate over to Streamline. So let's go ahead and share my screen. You should be able to see Athena. So when we talk about that Nuance Management Center that you saw moments ago, once that's configured and licensed, as an administrator in your table space, you want to set up and tie that NMC through a token ID presented to you as an MPI or a medical group number in your table space. And simply going in and looking for the Dragon Medical embedded token, and then using that token and applying it here ties your table space to the Nuance Management Center. So at a high level and a very simplistic approach, that's the way you begin the high-level implementation. And then from a user's perspective, we need to enable the users to ensure that they have things enabled that they need. And so the speech-to-text vendor simply needs to be changed to a preference of Dragon Medical Embedded. Once that's completed, the user, when they log into a patient's chart, will actually have their Dragon toolbar available. So let's go ahead and head on in and show that to you. So I'm in Tammy's chart, and I'm on the face sheet, essentially, and here's my Dragon toolbar launches automatically, right? Now, the user does have the ability to move this around and place it where they want to. It doesn't really matter, but the flexibility is there depending upon which Classic or Streamline view that you're working within for ease of use. Click Go to Exam button. Now, you saw moments ago, this is my Dragon toolbar. When I turn my microphone on and enable it, it changes from this gray to red. You also saw some movement or color here, and that's the vocalization or the sound indication that it's actually hearing my speech. In lieu of processing on the local PC, as soon as my microphone's engaged, it actually accepts the audio, sends it to the cloud. Nuance does the transcription, or the conversion, I should say, of speech to text in the cloud, and then sends that text back down into Athena. I obviously did a vocal navigation command there, and I'm going to show you a little bit of navigation as well as the ability to speech to text and type. Click Reason Note field. Upper respiratory infection. Navigate to HPI. Patient is a 34-year-old female with complaints of headache, cough, and severe congestion for the past week and a half period. She has chronic history of sinus infections and does have 2 young children in full-time daycare, which she believes is a contributing factor, period. She is taking over-the-counter medications, including ibuprofen, Sudafed, and NyQuil, and experiencing little to no relief, period. Navigate to ROS. My ROS. Now, I just dropped in a Dragon template. You obviously have the ability of using Athena templates, and I'm going to show you a little bit of that when I get to physical exam. What I want you to see today here in particular is the ease of use of the Dragon templates. What I've dropped in, you'll notice there are some square brackets surrounding text, and that allows me to quickly vocally navigate through and change text if it's applicable to that patient visit, and then move on to the next section. Next field. Positive for fever and fatigue, no night sweats. Next field. Positive for headache and negative for vision loss. Select negative through memory loss. Single episode of dizziness, no memory loss. Accept defaults. Navigate to PE. Now in this section I'll show you, we have the ability of using, like I said, the Athena template. I can vocally select all normal, and then I can augment with Dragon commentary if needed. Click all normal. I also have the ability of using a Dragon command like I did in ROS, and I'll demonstrate that as well. My URI exam. Healthy appearing, well-nourished Caucasian female in no acute distress. Accept defaults. Navigate to assessment plan. The patient has been treated with Zithromax in the past, which seems to alleviate symptoms for a short period of time, however, doesn't fully resolve her infections, period. We are going to take an aggressive approach today and treat with Levaquin 250 milligrams POBID times 10 days, period. Next field. My URI plan. Patient should take medication with food to avoid digestive side effects. Next field, Levaquin. Next field, 2 weeks. Next field. The patient believes her syncope symptoms were related to lack of proper nutrition combined with overexertion, likely an isolated episode, period. She would prefer to avoid any further testing at this time, period. I have instructed her to maintain a healthy diet, including breakfast on a daily basis, and if she experiences any dizziness or similar symptoms, she is to contact my office for a follow-up appointment. Navigate to sign off. Now, I also have the ability of opening tabs and closing tabs, and in the new Streamline view, there's a lot of those available in various components. I'll give you a quick view of that, and then I'm going to jump over to Classic. Show slide out tab. Hide slide out tab. Hopefully that gives you a nice view of where we're at with Streamline from a use of Dragon and streamlining your workflow. And for those of you on Classic, let's switch over real quick and give you some highlights. Okay. So similar to what you just saw in Streamlined, on the Classic side of the fence, we can vocally navigate tabs. We can also vocally navigate through the current encounter. So I'll walk through just a couple of highlights, not quite as much in-depth dictation this time, just to kind of save some time for some questions and dialogue, but give you a good feel for it. Patient is a 26-year-old female with complaints of right knee pain, period. Next field, my ROS, accept defaults, navigate to face sheet tab, navigate to health history tab, navigate to current encounter tab. Now, should turn my microphone off. Now with the templates, this is something that some of you, I believe, joined the webinar from yesterday and had a question about this. So I'm going to go ahead and show you. I can use that normal exam or URI exam template with Dragon like I did previously. You've seen a couple of those. We also have the ability of augmenting your Athena template. So if you prefer to stay with the Athena template either for all visits or for augmenting certain visit types because the templates work well for you, you can do that. The idea is that you simply click on the items that are applicable, just like you normally would, and you can augment with Dragon and commentary scenario as needed. Patient looks flushed and is a bit disheveled. Navigate to assessment plan section. Now here I do also have the ability of vocally selecting and searching in your search windows, whether that's quick picks, searching for ICD-10 codes or order sets. We can do that as well, so we'll give you a feel for this. Syncope. Scratch that. Syncope. And as you can see from there, you can continue on with your workflow as normal. And John, I believe that's a good time to turn it back over to you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jody.
You're welcome.
And excellent. So if you can just hand the control back.
And you should have it.
Yep. Yeah. So let me just go. We'll pop back into the presentation here, and we'll close out. So. Excellent. Now let's talk for just a moment here before we get into the Q&A portion about the freedom to choose the best solutions. So as we mentioned, we have two solutions here for front-end speech recognition powered by our cloud-based technology with Dragon Medical. And really, it's the things to consider when you're selecting the best solution are a couple of questions here that are on screen to get you thinking about what's most appropriate for your organization. So first and foremost, how are your physicians required to document? Tightly coupled with that is how your physicians prefer to document? Another really good question to ask when looking at these solutions. Where do you document as well? At the clinic, at home, or other locations? Which applications you use to create documentation? So is all of your documentation solely created in the electronic health record, or are you using other solutions to create documentation as part of that workflow? What's your technical landscape? Again, you're using desktop or laptop workstations, mobile devices or more portable devices. Do you have virtualization in place, and other things to consider? So there's two solutions, just to recap, that we've covered today for Dragon Medical. First is the Dragon Medical embedded in athenaClinicals, which is what you just saw an excellent demonstration of from Jody. So that includes the advanced voice-driven workflows, so as you can see how creating a much more natural interface and experience with the EMR is really powerful from a physician workflow standpoint. And that's, again, a very, I just want to point out that's a unique capability with Dragon Medical inside of athenaClinicals. So being able to navigate through the patient chart and execute those commands directly in the browser-based application. Again, no software to install, so literally walk up to the workstation, and once you log in, the physician's ready to document integrated directly into the EMR workflow. And then we have Dragon Medical One, so that's the desktop application. Again, the same core experience to expect from a speech recognition, speed, accuracy, capability perspective. But this is a desktop application, client application that runs side by side with athenaClinicals. Again, allows you to dictate into the EMR, but also other supported applications on the desktop. And then the voice access beyond, so if you're leveraging mobile productivity apps like secure messaging, clinical reference, or care coordination apps, it's a great way to extend and have experiential continuity for your physician where they're able to access all of their personalizations, their customizations, and that feature-rich speech-enabled workflow securely through these third-party applications. And then we also have compatibility with other Nuance and partner workflow enhancements as part of that desktop application workflow. But when it comes down to it, you don't have to decide on just one of those solutions. The real ultimate front-end experience or optimal experience for your physicians is to leverage both Dragon Medical One and the embedded version of Dragon Medical in athenaClinicals. So if you're documenting, or your physicians are documenting both in athenaClinicals and other non-EHR applications on the desktop, if they're using those mobile productivity apps beyond the EHR workflow, and if they want to take advantage of some of the other Nuance and partner workflow enhancements, the ultimate solution here is really to have the best of both worlds, which is both Dragon Medical One and Dragon Medical embedded in athenaClinicals. So we'll go ahead and we'll shift the conversation over to a few things for next steps. This is a good opportunity, again, if you have any questions that you want to ask, you can start typing those into the chat window and we'll address those as they come in. If you're interested in learning more, so getting more information, there's some information available on nuance.com. So nuance.com/for-healthcare is the healthcare pages of nuance.com. You can also schedule a discovery call. By doing that, you can email Steve Hapanuski or Steve Hap, so steve.hap@nuance.com, and Steve will be happy to set up a post call today to go into more detail about the solutions and the specific fits and next steps for your organization. And then again, submit the questions through the WebEx QA or chat window, and we will take those questions now. We'll try to address as many as we can in the next few minutes. And then any that we can't get to during the webinar today, we'll follow up with you individually after the call. So if we can kind of ping the Nuance team here of any questions that have come in.
John, I'm seeing one in there. Somebody's asking about, the question is, I guess, could we hear a little more today about the technical support with MIST and how that works? So I'll go ahead and take that one. We are essentially a partner of both Nuance and Athena. So MIST as an organization has the expertise of Athena as well as Dragon, and knowing both inside and out, which allows us to help you from an implementation and training strategy. So our role isn't necessarily technical support. It's guiding and assisting you with implementation and user training and any administrator or super user training that might be needed for your specific group. And then from there, we actually allow Nuance and Athena to support you directly as they're the ones that from a technical component are working through development and strategies. So they can help you through your normal support channels at that time.
Okay, great. Other questions that are coming in that the Nuance team sees here coming into the Q&A? And see if I can peek in there myself without losing the screen share here. Okay, great. So I see one in here. There's a question in here. We have Dragon Medical Practice Edition 2.0. How does this integrate with athenaClinicals? And just so I understand the question, it might be asking about if you are currently using Dragon Medical Practice Edition and if you're looking at going to either Dragon Medical One or Dragon Medical embedded in athenaClinicals, or the combination of those two. And so I'll answer that question. I hope I'm answering that correctly, and if not, please, whoever asked that question, ping in and we'll follow up on that. But I mentioned with the single voice profile around our platform, we can essentially create a seamless experience if you're using a prior version of Dragon Medical, or you're using one of our transcription solutions. So with respect to the question about Dragon Medical Practice Edition, so that's a locally installed version of Dragon Medical, but we can essentially migrate your users' personalizations and vocabularies to our cloud-hosted infrastructure. So if you're making the move from Practice Edition to either Dragon Medical One or Dragon Medical embedded in athenaClinicals, we'll be able to pull those customizations and personalizations that your physicians have created over time and make those available to them as part of this cloud-based platform. Okay, other questions that are coming in? I know we're right at
we're right at time. I've got one that was just sent to me, John, I can address real quick, and then we might need to address the others individually with those that reached out. How long is training time for a typical clinician? A brand new user to the software, if never used Dragon Medical before, we typically like to carve out 2 sessions with the user. The first one to teach them the basic functionality of obviously Dragon and speech to text and how to utilize best practices, and then a follow-up session for optimization, which allows them to ask questions specific to their workflow and dial it in a little deeper for that specific user. Total in time, depending on the provider, 2 to 3 hours in total. So that's essentially what we've seen from a typical deployment implementation strategy for providers. Hopefully that's helpful.
Great, and I think there's a few more that came in, but I know we're just 1 minute past, so I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So we'll follow up. If you had any questions submitted, we'll follow up after today's webinar. and get those addressed. And again, if you have interest in a specific, having a detailed discussion about what this all means for your organization and the opportunities that exist, steve.happ@nuance.com, and we'll be able to follow up with you on any of those questions you might have or discussion that you'd like to have. So thanks again, everyone, for joining. Thanks, Jody, for joining us today, and everyone have a wonderful day.
You too. Thanks, John.
That concludes our conference for today. Thank you for your participation and for using AT&T Teleconference Service. You may now disconnect.